Hi, in this video, we shall be talking about import and export. So what is import and export? I hope everybody knows about this concept. Import and export are nothing but simple English words, right? Importing means to take from an external party and exporting means to give, right? Similarly, when it comes to data, when it comes to SQL, there are concepts like importing and exporting. What does that mean? For an example, just imagine you have a data set, you have an Excel sheet or a text file or a JSON object, and you want to put the entire data into a table. How do we do that? That means from an external file, you are dumping the data into your SQL database. So this is basically called as importing. That means you are importing to your database. Similarly, when you already have data in your SQL database, maybe you want to download the data and do some analysis. Maybe you want to do it in Power BI or in Excel or in Python. We don't know. Now, if you ask me, why can't we directly connect the data and do the analysis? Well, that's possible. But when it comes to real life industry level problems where you are working on live databases, it is not recommended to do your R&D stuff or your proof of concepts using a live connection. It is always recommended to download a chunk of the data, then do your analysis. Once your analysis is done, then you can do a live connection and test your hypothesis or test your analysis. This is how it has to be done. So to download data or to dump data into databases, we have the concept of importing and exporting. So we'll start with manual importing. So how to start with manual importing? You can see this widget, which basically tells you that these are the databases: IMDb, iNeuron, iNeuron test, and I am right clicking on the tables and then doing table data import wizard. Simple. Let's go to MySQL Workbench. So I'm going to use my intro underscore SQL database. These are all my tables: department, employees, employee exercise, blah, blah, blah. Let's say I have a Excel file, which is Teleco churn. And this is how my data looks like. I have customer ID, gender, senior citizen, blah, blah, blah. And I want to dump the data into my database. What should I do? You are dumping the data. That means it's a data import. So I will go to my workbench and I'm going to refresh my intro SQL database. I can open my tables, right click, and then do table data import wizard. Once I'm doing it, you can select, browse and select your file. Which file do you want to do? Click on next. Upon clicking on next, there are two options. One is use existing table and another one is create a new table. Just, just a scenario. Use existing table means if your table already exists in that database, right? So in this case, we don't have a table called as customer churn, right? I mean, of course, this is my local instance, so I know that there is no table. So in this case, I'm not going to use an existing table. I'm going to create a new table. Okay, so I'll create a new table in which database? It's asking for databases. I'm going to use intro SQL. Intro SQL. What should be my table name? Let's say I'm going to give customer churn DB or else customer churn DB, something like that. Okay, or else churn DB, churn DB, customer churn DB. This is a better name. Okay, customer churn DB. I'll click on next. Upon clicking on next, you can see the data, a preview mode is seen here. Some records are shown and automatically we are able to identify the different data types. You can see customer ID, text, gender, text, senior citizen is integer, tenure is integer, And this is how everything has been read properly. Monthly charges and total charges are read as double. Everything has been done perfectly fine. Click on next. Click on next. So integer, incorrect integer value. Yes. Okay. There are some errors. Let us run this and then we'll try to fix the errors. Or else we can just cancel it out. Let's try to see if our table is created or not. Drop table customer churn underscore DB. Let me rerun this particular scenario. Go to temp data import. Next, create a table. Okay, let's create telco churn. Okay. Next. So customer ID is text, gender is text, senior citizen is integer, partner is text, dependents is text, tenure is integer, phone service is text. Everything seems to be fine. Everything seems to be fine. And then we'll click on next. Click on next. Yeah. Now the import has started. I don't know. Maybe there was some mistake from my side. I don't know. I don't remember why there was an error, but at least now there should not be any errors. So in the meanwhile, this goes on. It will take some time. So apart from manual importing, there is also another way of importing data. So sometimes what happens is when you are importing data, your data could be huge, right? The file could be very large in size. There could be tons and tons of data, 1 million records or 10,000 records or 50,000 records. And somehow this particular process is taking a lot of time. It's been 10 minutes. You are waiting, waiting, and waiting. So how do we solve that scenario? So one method is to import using command line. So command line import is super simple and super easy. It hardly takes some seconds to finish everything. So here, as you can see, it's already been 15-20 seconds. It's still going on. So let us go back to the next slides and we'll talk about the importing through command line, and we'll come back and see whether our importing has been done or not, the manual import. So this one, as I have so much information on one page, that is the reason the font is little bit small, but I hope it's perfectly readable. Okay, so importing is going on, still going on. Okay, let's wait for the import itself. How many records do we have? I think we have like 7,000 records. Yeah, we have 7,000 records. So let's close this. 7,000 records should not take more than a minute. So okay, importing is going on. So much of time. It's taking a lot of time to import the data. Last time I did, it was done in a couple of seconds. Okay, it's taking a lot of time, so we will try to import this using command line. So let's see how it works. Let me see the table, if the table has been created or not. Uh, Telco churn A. I think it was by mistake I have mentioned as churn A. How many records has been imported? Or just 94 records. That means somehow my processes are too slow because of, so import, the import speed completely depends upon your CPU utilization, memories, and all those things. So maybe because of some reasons, uh, let's delete this. Okay, let's delete this, and we'll try to use the command line approach. So let's try to do this. Deletion has been done. I'll quickly do select star from teleco churn A. Everything is done. Let's try to follow the second approach. And once this is successful, I'll come back to the manual importing approach for a smaller data set. Okay. So open MySQL Workbench, create a new database, which we already have created. Then create the table using create query. So as we already have a table, so I don't need a create query. Copy the MySQL bin directory path. Usually the bin directory path is C program files, MySQL server, and then bin. So again, I will just try to see what's my path. Program files, MySQL 8.0, server 8.0, and then bin. Okay, I'll just copy this path and go to the folder in command line by using cd. So let's try to open command line. This is my command line. I'll go to cd space the directory which I have copied. Cd is current directory. I hope you know the basics of Unix. Moving back to the slide, connect to the MySQL database by using this command MySQL -u root -p. So what is this? -u means username. -p means what is the password. I'm entering the password. Everybody knows my password. My password is root. My username is root. Click on enter. Now you are connected to your MySQL database. Simple. Simply how to connect Unix to MySQL database. Very simple. Now, if you are logged in successfully, then set the global variables by using below command so that the data can be imported from local computer folder. So in order to give the access for your local computer to use a file import using command line, we have to set this global parameter, which is set global local in file equals to 1. Local in file equals to 1. Done. Query okay, 0 rows affected. This means you have just instructed MySQL server to allow local file upload from your computer. Simple. Now quit the current connection by using quit. Bye. So I have logged out of my MySQL database. Load the file from CSV file to the MySQL database. In order to do this, please follow the following commands. We will connect with the MySQL server again with the local in file system variable. So again, I will use MySQL. You can see dash dash local in file equals to 1. That means in local in file 1 mode, I'm going to use my username and then I'll pass my password. You don't have to remember all these things. Trust me, if you just know the concepts, somebody asks you how to connect, even if you remember something, MySQL -u username -p, that should be enough. You don't have to memorize local in file, all these exact steps, not required. Now, as we are already into my MySQL database, we want to see what all databases do we have. Which database are we using? IntroSQL. So I will just use this IntroSQL. Database changed. Now I will see the tables, list of tables that we have. Teleco churn is the table that we want to do, right? That we want to import data. So I'm just checking my table, whether everything is fine or not. Sorry, from telco churn A. I don't understand why I have given churn A, but anyways, my table is ready. Everything is ready. 0 records. So let's move on to the next step, which is loading the file. So the command is pretty simple. What I will do is I'll just copy paste this code, entire piece of code, and then I'll go to my notepad and save it. You can see this is how my code looks like. Now, where is my file? My file is in this folder. I'll copy this folder and then I will give this path. So here you have to give double slash. Okay, because this is how it works. This is how Unix treats a folder path. And then in that case, you have to provide your file name.csv. Everything is done. Everything is ready. Okay, load data local in file name into table, which is my table name, telco churn A, right? Fields terminated by comma, enclosed by double quotes, lines terminated by /r/n, ignore one rows. Then just copy this, go to your command line, enter. This is done in 0.14 seconds. You can imagine how fast your command line is. 7,400 records in just 0.414 seconds. Wow, this is amazing. You can see the data is already there. So it's always recommended to use command line when you are using larger data. But yeah, if you are using some records, you can just try out the manual process. As I committed, we have to try out a manual process. So let's try to right click and see if we have a smaller file. You can see Teleco churn is like 1 MB file. Air passengers is 2 KB. Let's try to use this. Open, next. Let's create a new table called as air passengers. Next, we have month, which is text. Let's make it as date time. And then we have passengers, which is integer. Everything is fine. Date format, if you want to give a format, you can give it. Next, next. Done. So this is done in 4 seconds. You can see 2 KB file, still it is taking 4 seconds. And if you want to use your command line, it's super simple, right? Now you can just check it. Select star from air passengers. And this is how your, oh. What's wrong? Why there are no records? Okay. Okay, that it's quite awkward. Like I don't understand why there are no records. Everything is fine. Okay, let's use this existing table, intro SQL air passengers. Okay, is it because it's throwing some errors? Okay, incorrect date time. Okay, I understood it. So let's try to delete this. Somehow this process is so hectic, right? So you can simply use your command line to sort out all your problems. So let's try to repeat the steps. Browse. Okay, everything is done. Next. No, we don't want to create a new table. We'll create a new table. Let's try to create a new table, passengers. And here we will use text because I think the formatting is not perfectly done. That is the reason date time conversion is not happening. So in case you get issues like this, you can probably go back to your file, like your CSV file, change the date format, change the type of the data type, and then you can come back to this step. So let's see how much time this take, manual process. I wasn't really expecting this particular class to be so lengthy, but okay, let's try to finish the importing part and then we'll talk about the exporting part. It's super hectic. That is the reason we always use command line. Let's try to do that using command line. Let's say, why it's taking so 48 seconds for 144 records. Are you serious? But it's okay. No records? Why there are no records? I really don't understand why there are no records. I really don't understand why there are no records. Oh, we have created a new table, right? Sorry, my bad. Passengers. So this has the new records, right? So air passengers, anyways, we don't know what went wrong. So anyways, our air passengers is gone. So our new table is ready with passengers. You can see that just few records and it took around like 48 seconds, right? If you want, you can easily, let's say I want to create a table, create table air passengers. And then I will use month as varchar 100. And then, oh my God. Okay, let's try to use passengers only, no? Passengers, varchar, not varchar, it's integer. Okay, let's try to create this table and then try to dump the file into this particular table. We'll not name it as month, we'll name it as date, datetime, because it's not recommended for you to use keywords as a column name, right? So I'm creating a table called as air passengers. So let me create it and then I'll try to use air passengers table here and try to use the second file, which is this one. So I'll just change the name to this. Now everything is right. Let me just insert it. Okay, why it is not done? Because of, okay, because of the column name. So what you can do is, let me just open this. I'll just rename it as date M, because it's not recommended to have names like this. Passengers, date M. Okay, let's do this. And then we compare if we have, okay, date, passengers, and everything is fine now. Let me just save this. It was already there. Okay, everything is done. Now let me just do the same steps again. Now everything is done. You can see all the records are uh, updated or inserted in just 0.01 seconds. So this is all about your uh, data importing. And next topic is going to be data export. So let's say you are dealing with a table. I'll talk about the same table, which is Teleco churn, and you want to export this table, export this data. How can we do that? Let me go back to the slides. So exporting is very simple. There is an option in MySQL Workbench, which is uh, server and data export. Once you click on data export, you will have the names of all your schemas in couple of seconds. Everything is done. Let's say you are using intro SQL and then you want, let's say unselect all, you want the data from Teleco churn. So which folder do you want to dump in? Let's say you pass your folder details. Let's say there is no folder like this. I will pass this folder and then I will give a export. Okay, something like this. And then I'll click on start export. So the data is exported into a SQL file. Done. Okay. Now, if you want to see the tables, you can see an export folder is already created. we didn't had this folder, right? Now my SQL is ready. If you want to open it, you can open it using your notepad. You can see all these insert queries are there. Now, another way is, let's say you want to export certain number of records. Okay. So let's say you want to export certain number of records. So you can just limit it. Let's say you want to limit it to 500, or else if you want only the female records, female limit 500. Now, if you run this, how many records do we have? Of course, there will be 500 records because I'm limiting it to 500, right? And let's say you just, why it is, yeah, now it's 500. Okay. So let's say you just want 500 records. Now you just have 500 records on the screen. There is an option of export here. Click on your export, and then you will be easily be able to store it in, let's say I'm going to store it here, export female records, and you can store it in your CSV file or using your other formats. Let's say if you want to store it as an Excel file, you can store it. Now, once this is done, you can just recheck it. You can see export female, and these are all your female details, 500 female records. So if you want to use some chunk of data from a particular database, you can use this way, or you can use your data export way. And there is another way of importing data. Let's say you already have prepared your SQL files. You have created your insert files and you want to import data. You can use your data import method. Similarly, let's say I have already exported the Teleco churn data, right? And let's say we'll create a new database, new Telco. Okay, done. How many tables do we have? Of course, it's a new database, so there will be no tables, right? So in this table, in this database, let's try to dump that data which we had exported. So I'll go to server, I'll go to data import. From where do I want to import? I can choose which data, let's say this data. And then default target schema, I will choose new Teleco. And then start import. In couple of seconds, the entire SQL file will be run and a table will be created. So let me just go back to this particular thing. Now, if I go to show tables, you can see I have a new table called as Telco churn. Now, if I look at it, sorry, churn A, right? So this is all about your data importing and exporting. So it all depends upon your situation, what you need to do and what you need not to do. You have to decide accordingly. Sometimes what happens is when we are dealing with huge amount of data, we might not be able to export it as CSV in one go. Just an example, here I have so many records, right? Let's say we have 7,000 records. I cannot export it in one go. Probably there will be some ways to do that, but I am not aware of that. So what we usually do is we use limit methods, or else we use some row num. We create a row number, and then based on that, using multiple select queries, we export multiple Excel sheets and then combine it using your Python merge queries or some sort of concatenation queries. So, and this is all about your data importing and exporting. I hope you understood the concepts. You can try out by yourself. Now I can also explain you one more thing, which is how to import an entire database. So let's say I already have this particular database called as classic models. Let me just drop this schema, drop now, done, it's gone. So let's say you are getting a database directly. So there are websites like mysqltutorial.org. Let's say download a MySQL sample database. There are a lot of SQL databases you can find online. Download MySQL. Now you can see my zip file has downloaded it. Show all, go to show in folder. right click, extract all, and then you can see this is how my database looks like. If you want to have a glimpse of it, you can see this is all your database. You have your, see, you are creating a database first, create database. If not exists classic models, then you are using this database. Using these databases, you are dropping the table. If exists, then creating all these tables, right? Now, how do I run all this data into your database? Simply go to data import and self-contained SQL file. Go to your folder, MySQL database. Just look at it. I don't have classic models. I don't have classic models, right? I have breast cancer TB, customer fun, IMDb, but I don't have classic models. So I'm using this file, and then I'll click on start import. It will take some time because it's creating databases, then creating tables. Now the import is done. Close it. Why I don't see my table or my database? Because I haven't refreshed it. Now you can see your classic models. You can see so many tables are created. So this is all about your importing databases, right? So this is the entire scenario, entire class on importing and exporting data into databases. So I hope you enjoyed this class. Next class, we'll be talking about the future topics. Thank you.